Hi, my name is Ryan Henry. It's March 23rd, 2026, and this is my video summary on the article titled Genetics-Based Methods for Agricultural Insect Pest Management. So this article explains how scientists are starting to use genetics instead of chemicals to control insect pests in the agricultural world. So insect pests are a big problem in agriculture because they damage crops and they cost a lot of money. The article gives the example of the diamondback moth, and this moth alone causes about $4 to $5 billion in damage each year. And this is crop loss, so product loss, and the cost of controlling them. So the various methods used, and especially the chemicals used. And it's not working, obviously. They're spending a lot of money on the control, and they're still losing a lot of money in product loss. So it's a failing strategy, and they're looking for new ways to fix it, to control these pests. And for a long time, farmers have used these chemical pesticides to deal with pests. The problem is that insects can adapt and become resistant to them, and the chemicals stop working as well over time. This also leads to more chemical use, which can harm the environment. So basically, they're buying more chemicals, spending more money, putting them out into the environment, which is harming the environment, and these pests and insects are still surviving because they're becoming resistant. They're becoming more and more resistant as they're adding more and more chemicals to the environment. And because of this, scientists have been looking for other ways to control pests. And one main method that I found the most interesting in the article is the sterile insect technique, or SIT. And with this method, scientists raise large numbers of insects in a lab, they sterilize them, and they release them into the wild. When these sterile males mate with wild females, the eggs do not hatch. Over time, this reduces the population. This method has worked before with the New World screwworm in many countries, and this helped protect livestock and save some money, so that's good. However, the traditional version uses radiation to sterilize insects, and that can make them weaker, and if they're weaker, they may not compete well with the wild insects, so it may not be effective. To fix this, scientists have developed genetically engineered insects. These insects carry a gene that causes their offspring to die before becoming adults. In some cases, the gene is designed so that only female offspring die. This is useful because females are the ones that reproduce and usually cause the most damage to crops. The article also talks about using models and simulations so that they can predict what will happen when the insects are released. One important factor, or a way to measure it that they use, is called the release ratio. And this measures how many modified insects are released compared to the wild population. If enough are released, the population can be wiped out, and if fewer are released, the population can still be reduced to a level where it no longer causes major damage. So the model helps them predict and try and make sure that they can control it without destroying it, and to make sure it's even being effective at all. So another part of the article focuses on Bt crops, and this is genetically modified plants that kill insects when they eat them. And these crops are useful, but insects can become resistant to them over time. They also had a solution to the Bt crops involving a refuge strategy where some normal crops are planted so non-resistant insects survive. But even with this, resistance has still developed in some cases. The article shows that engineered insects that carry non-resistant genes can help slow down or even reverse resistance. Even small numbers of these insects can make a difference. Finally, the article mentions newer technologies like gene editing. This could allow scientists to change insect genes more precisely, and these methods are still being studied and are not widely used. Overall, the article shows that genetics-based methods could be a strong alternative to traditional pest control, especially when combined with other methods. So my personal opinion, resistance reminds me of in humans it reminds me of how we have to finish our entire bottle of antibiotics, or we may become resistant to that certain antibiotic strain. So that's what it reminded me of, and how we still don't know how to fix that issue, because we can't trust everyone to always be finishing their bottles. So they've been prescribing them less. But I think these methods could be very useful in the future, and if handled correctly, they could be a better long-term solution for controlling pests for sure. I'm a big supporter in gene editing if it's done safely, and overall I think this is a great article with some great findings. Thank you.